Hi folks, and welcome to Chris Reviews. So today I'm looking at my second field watch from Merkur and a brand new variant for 2022. This is the 3rd anniversary Red Army Retro. Now, as always, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. Your support is very much appreciated. So, without any further ado, let's get into the review. So this is a 3rd anniversary model watch, and indeed Merkur have been around now for 3 years, since 2019. Now, I have said before that I think Merkur are a really interesting brand. They do seem to be putting out some pretty varied and unique designs, and they also seem to have a high quality to price ratio as well, in my experience. Now, as you will have noticed, the paid promotion info at the start of the video, this watch was sent to me by the Merkur Official Store on AliExpress. They very kindly sent me the watch to review and had no other input other than that. Now, looking at the dimensions of this one, we have a lovely set of dimensions, that classic 38mm, 20mm lug case design, 12mm thickness, a lovely compact 45mm lug to lug, and on its supplied strap this one weighs in at 60 grams. Now, price wise, this one will cost £70, that's a pretty incredible $92 US. And this one houses the mechanical hand-winding M01D movement. Mine is timing at +9 seconds per day. So as mentioned, this watch was sent from the Merkur Official Store on AliExpress. Check them out, they have loads of interesting models beside this one, and incidentally this model is also available in a cream dial variant as well as the salmon dial. I'll leave links to the store and to the 3rd anniversary watch in the video description down below. So I'll show you the packaging that you receive. I really like the Merkur carbon fibre effect case. It's substantial and it looks good. You receive loads of goodies beside the watch, with a cleaning cloth, a nice strap and spring bar changing tool, together with all the usual things like hang tags, warranty card. It's a great package. It's professional and it's nicely done. So, looking at the watch case itself, if you look at the Merkur store, you'll notice that a few of their different models use this exact same case, and why not? It's a very nice case. It has those perfect set of dimensions with its 38mm width, that short lug to lug, and those 20mm lugs, and it has been well finished with a nice even circular brush on the top of those lugs there, and a high polish finish to those curved sides. Now, the case is also wonderfully neutral, I think. It looks retro and vintage inspired while still having quite a modern aspect thanks to that high polished ring that sits beside the crystal. It's a wonderfully adaptable case design and I am a big fan. So 50 metres of water resistance for this model. It has a nicely engraved screw down case back, which is all brushed on this particular version. It has a non-screw down simple push pull crown, and the crown itself is a nice size. It feels good when you hand wind, and it's also been nicely signed as well, again with a good mix of brushed and polished finishing. Now, covering the dial is a beautiful piece of domed top hat K1 crystal. Now, I know many of you said in the previous Merkur review that I did with a K1 crystal that you're looking for a sapphire crystal, but I think you really have to keep in mind the price of this watch. It's £70, folks. That's under $100, and for me, I think the choice of K1 is spot on. It's a lot tougher than standard mineral crystals, and it's an awful lot tougher and more resilient than acrylic. And let's not forget a pretty important factor: it looks very, very good, and it shows off that dial beautifully. And speaking of the dial, it's one of the nicest sub $100 dials that I have encountered. This is the salmon colourway, and they have got that salmon colour just about perfect. It's not too bright or in your face, it's a lovely vintage inspired shade that just integrates and helps to gel the whole watch together. Those applied polished hour markers and numerals around the outside are nicely finished and aligned, and again they just seem to help cement that vintage warm look. Now the Merkur text in Chinese at the 12, along with those 3 stars to signify the 3rd anniversary, and the Made in China Chinese characters along with the Red Army star at the 6 there. Now the text is all printed, but it's been done to a very nice standard, nice and sharp, and looks fantastic. Now, there's also an outer scale finished in black which runs along the outer edge of the dial. I'm not too sure what this scale is for, but it does certainly frame the dial, and it too has been nicely finished. And completing the dial itself is a great set of Dauphine style hands, and again, just have a look at that detail and the level of finish on those hands. They have a brushed finish which plays with the light very well and helps them to be super legible against that dial. So let's talk about the strap. So this actually came with a canvas strap in the box from Merkur, although of course, as you can see, I did swap it out. Now there's nothing wrong with the canvas, it's not scratchy or uncomfortable in any way, in fact quite the opposite. It is a nice comfortable strap, but for me personally, this watch with the lovely salmon dial colour, I just thought it was begging for this simple black leather strap that I had in the watch box. I think it actually helps to show off that dial and contrasts it very nicely. And here it is on my 7.5-inch wrist for your reference, and as you can see, it wears very well. It has some great dimensions. 38mm is such a versatile size. That compact lug to lug also means that it wears nicely, and those curved lugs will mean that it fits a variety of different wrist sizes, both male and female. And of course, being 20mm lugs, you can swap out straps no problem to find the perfect combination for you. So now that I've covered all the details, it's time for my thoughts and of course the verdict for this 3rd anniversary model. So quite unusually, I'm going to start with the negatives on this one, and really, quite honestly, I am struggling to find any negatives here. Now of course, I hear a lot of you moaning. Yes, you might argue and say, well, I'd prefer to have a sapphire crystal, or I'd rather see an increase in water resistance and have a screw down crown, or I would rather it was an automatic. Well, yes, sure, if that is your preference, but for me personally, I love that K1 crystal. It's beautiful. It adds a really nice warmth to the look of this watch and to the dial. And while I'm sure Merkur could indeed do all of these alterations to improve that spec sheet on paper, I honestly don't think they would add anything to the watch in terms of how it would look or how it would feel on your wrist. In actual fact, the only thing that it would do, I think, is increase that price tag. I think, for me personally, this is another triumph from Merkur. And as I mentioned, this is my second watch from Merkur. I purchased the Crossline dial watch a little while ago, and it is identical except for the dial and the handset. And as you can see, even with those identical cases, they look like completely different watches. One thing they do have in common with each other though is an excellent level of quality. Now, I think this 3rd anniversary model is absolutely gorgeous. I am a big fan of this case. It is nicely finished and it wears very comfortably. Even the dial is very well executed with nice detail and a brilliantly finished set of hands. I think Merkur seem to me to be a pretty underrated brand, and they shouldn't be. This is a brand that I've come to really enjoy, and one that delivers pretty incredible value for money. And speaking of value, just think about the price that this watch is selling for. It's under $100. That's £70. Truly pretty amazing. Now check out the Merkur store on AliExpress. They have a number of different models which utilise this particular case, and there is a dial variant in there for pretty much every taste. And if you like the look of this one, then snap one up. I really can highly recommend it. It's a watch that looks both wonderfully vintage but also modern and interesting at the same time. So that about wraps things up for today's review. Thanks very much for making it to the end of another video. Don't forget, I'll leave links to the Merkur store down below. And as always folks, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next review.